Hey gang, welcome to the channel here in the Philippines on a very hot day in a park that's very noisy. Well, as the title of this video says, this is going to be talking about how living in Asia has changed me. If you've never been to the channel before, I'll give you a little background on myself. I was born and raised in the United States, lived there the majority of my life. In fact, prior to this trip that I'm on right now, I'd only lived outside the country one time. And it was in the United Kingdom in London, where I went to school for the better part of a year. So I hadn't really ever lived in Asia, and I came here about a year and a half ago. First, I spent almost 6 months in Thailand, and then for the last year, a little over a year now, I've lived in the Philippines. And a lot of things that I've experienced while living here, much different than when you simply vacation in a place, is that really things that I've learned and my outlook on life has really changed to where I wouldn't really fit in probably as much in the United States as I used to. So I would say that one of the biggest changes, in fact, the biggest change, is my sensitivity to the cost of things. And the reason for that is in Asia, especially when I was in Thailand, that the cost of living, the cost of going out to eat, the cost of just purchasing a lot of things is so much cheaper. Had to reposition myself real quick because it's the Philippines, so I was sitting near the road. It was a little noisy to begin with, but two tricycle drivers pulled up and they immediately turned on their radios blaring so they could sit there listening to music, and so y'all wouldn't have been able to hear me, so I kind of relocated so you could. All right, so the biggest cost, let me rephrase that, the biggest change that it has affected me since coming to Asia by far has been the cost of living and my sensitivity to paying for things as far as how expensive they are or how cheap they are. So in the United States, you know, I was living there, I was used to paying more money. Even in Europe, you're used to paying more money there. But when I came to Asia, it really did spoil me in many ways. So when I was living in Thailand, the cost there for everything, for lodging especially, was just so inexpensive. I was getting not bad hotels for as low as $16 a night when I was in Chiang Mai. I stayed at a luxury resort, and I paid $52 a night to have pool access, to just have these amazing suites. Now, part of that was because Thailand's so inexpensive to begin with, but it's also because of the time that I was there. They were just reopening for tourism. They had really lowered their prices to attract people. And once you get used to paying $50 a night for a luxury hotel and eating on really less than $10 a day, delicious, wonderful food, then when you go, even when I came to the Philippines, which is still so very low cost of living, that when I'm paying $50 for a hotel that I was paying $16 for in Thailand, I became sensitive to it. And then when I was looking at going back to visit the United States, good luck in most places getting a hotel that's just not a complete dump for less than $100. Again, the cost of eating out, the cost of services. And so it's not that I can't afford those costs, it's just I've become what they would call in the Philippines a curry pot, or cheap Charlie, I guess, in Asia, because I'm used to getting such excellent service here in Asia and excellent products in Asia for such low costs that I feel like I'm wasting money when I go back to the West, especially in the United States. And so it's kind of rewritten the way that I think about my hard-earned US dollars from my job and where I want to spend that. And it's that you can go to places like where I'm at now here in the Philippines, and that you can have such a better lifestyle for so much less money because you're using geo arbitrage, earning in US dollars and then spending in pesos. And it's really hard once you've been in one of those places to go back to a place where you're paying 4 to 5 times as much money. And to me, it's just been something that I'm going to have to rewire my brain to get back used to when I go back to the United States, when I go back to Western Europe and visit these more expensive places. Guys, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you want more of this content in the future. Really helps the channel, doesn't cost you a dime, and is always free. Next is, and this is probably due to my life, it wouldn't affect maybe everybody else, but living in the Philippines especially really has restored kind of my faith in my fellow man and humanity. The people here, I've almost always just meet these wonderful, wonderful people. The Filipino people are amazing. They're very friendly, they're happy. They have problems in their lives too, but they get past that and they go on and live life. And for the most part, whenever I meet someone, they'll come up to me. It's hard to not be old friends with somebody you've just met here in the Philippines. They're so friendly, but they're genuinely nice and they're genuinely interested in you, and you have a good conversation with them. And there's no, for the most part, there's not ulterior motives or anything. Whereas in the United States, I did trial work as an attorney there for so many years, and so I was always seeing people at their very worst, never seeing them at their best. And it weighs on you after a while. It weighs on your, not only your conscience, but just your view of your fellow man, because all you're doing is seeing all the time, in that case, people at their worst. But also in the United States, in my lifetime, I'm from the American South. So when I was growing up, very friendly place. You know, people would come down from up north. They would talk about how friendly all of the people were, and it was true. You know, on the surface level, everybody was nice and polite and friendly to each other. But over my lifetime, especially my adult lifetime, that's changed. And there's just no sense in the parts of the United States that I was living in of really community much anymore. Whereas the Philippines and Asia is all about communities. And even in my neighborhood, you know, neighbors didn't talk in the United States. I barely ever saw or talked to any of my neighbors in the United States. And part of that's on me, but it's also on the neighbors as well. They weren't talking to each other. We were just living in our own homes, our own bubbles, and not really socializing outside of our families and our already existing friendships. Whereas here, you know, when I go in a neighborhood, when I'm living in the Philippines, whether I was in Digos or I'm in Davao City right now, the neighbors do know each other. They do talk to each other here. And again, just the people of this country and knowing them has really reinstilled that, you know, people are good at heart. I really do believe that again. And it's really opened me back up to feeling good about my fellow man. All right, that was probably too long, but I mean, that's honest. That's how I feel. And I thought a lot about this last night, and I kind of wanted to get that out there. Finally, it has really taught me patience, and I'm talking about patience in daily life. Asia is so, especially in the cities, the populations here are just so huge compared especially to where I come from in the United States, which is a much more rural area. But even in the cities there, I mean, the population per square kilometer and stuff just can't compare to what you see in Asia. And as a result of that, you have longer lines. You have to wait more on things. Things take longer here than they do at home. And as a result of that, I have to plan my day accordingly. So it's changed the way that I live my life, just going to the grocery store. I've always done my own grocery shopping. That's something I enjoy. Plus I like to pick out the fruits and vegetables that I'm gonna eat, because I cooked all the time in the United States, just something I like to do. But there, you know, if there was a line, if there's 5 people or 4 people in a line, that would get frustrating in the United States, because I wanted to get in and out after my groceries. Waiting in line was, you know, and really didn't have to do it that much. That would be an unusual day that you had to wait 10 minutes in line, at least pre-pandemic times in the United States. Well, that here, I mean, if you had to wait 10 minutes here in line in the Philippines, you've gotten very, very lucky at most of the grocery stores, especially here in Davao City. It was even worse, to be honest with you, when I was in the province. But you have to learn that patience, and you have to reset your mind, or at least I have. And I think it's made me a better person having that patience. Again, when I was in the United States, I was a trial lawyer, so time was money, time was precious. It was the biggest commodity that I had, so I was always in a rush trying to get things done. And now, coming here and adapting to this slower lifestyle and learning this patience, I think has been a good thing, whether I'm here in Asia or whether I'm in Europe or whether I'm even in the United States visiting. All right, gang, that's a wrap for this video. Check this video out here that's coming up in the card. It may be something that you'll enjoy.